You are a creator with a high standard. You have a vision of perfection, a flawless, magnificent dream. You believe that to manifest this dream, your every action must be perfect, your every step flawless. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect execution. You are a guardian at the gate of your own creation, protecting it from the slightest flaw. But what if this noble guardianship is, in fact, a prison? What if the quantum field, the very womb of creation, does not respond to your static, perfect vision, but to the messy, dynamic, and imperfect energy of creation in motion? This story will reveal why your perfectionism is a spiritual dead end. It will show you how to embrace the power of imperfect action, and in doing so, finally allow the universe to meet you halfway. Elena was a priestess in the temple of perfection. At 35, she was an American glass artist living in Kyoto, a city whose aesthetic of refined, minimalist beauty was a perfect mirror for her own artistic philosophy. Her work was technically breathtaking, praised by critics for its flawless precision and impossible delicacy. Her workshop, a pristine, white-walled space she had built herself, was less a studio and more a laboratory, a sterile environment where she waged her daily war against the chaos of creation. Her most sacred, all-consuming desire was to create her masterpiece. She had a vision for a large, sculptural centerpiece for the upcoming Kyoto International Art Exhibition, a piece she called the Vessel of Light. In her mind, it was a thing of perfect, otherworldly beauty, a flawless form that would capture and refract light in a way that would make the air itself seem to sing. It was the work that would define her, that would elevate her from a skilled artisan to a true master. But her own perfectionism was her most formidable and tyrannical antagonist. This deeply ingrained limiting belief was a relentless inner critic that magnified every tiny flaw into a catastrophic failure. It was a voice that whispered, "It's not good enough. That curve is a millimeter off. That color is not precisely right. It must be perfect, or it is nothing." This mindset had created a graveyard of beautiful but flawed creations. Her workshop was filled with the ghosts of nearly perfect masterpieces she had destroyed in moments of self-judgment. She believed this ruthless standard was a sign of her artistic integrity. In reality, it was a manifestation of her deepest fear. The fear that if her work was not perfect, then she, herself, was not worthy. She was trying to manifest her dream from a place of profound, terrified lack. Is she doomed to be the eternal guardian of a dream that can never meet her impossible standards, a creator whose greatest gift is the destruction of her own creations? Or is there a different way, a more ancient, more forgiving philosophy that understands that the path to the divine is paved with beautiful, human imperfections? If you have ever felt that your own high standards are the very thing holding you back, that your perfectionism is a cage, then subscribe. This story contains the key to your liberation. Part 2, the shattering of her latest vessel of light, was a breaking point. It was the 7th time. The previous loop closed, her perfectionism was no longer a discipline, it was a pathology. The new loop opened with Elena in a state of creative and spiritual desolation. She could not bring herself to even enter her pristine, white workshop. The silence of the empty space felt like a judgment. She began to take long, aimless walks, a ghost haunting the beautiful ancient city that had once been her greatest inspiration. She walked through the serene, perfectly raked gravel gardens of the Zen temples, and their quiet perfection, which had once soothed her, now seemed to mock her. She was a woman drowning in a sea of flawless beauty. It was on one of these walks, in a quiet, forgotten corner of the Gion district, down an alley she had never noticed before, that she saw a small, weathered wooden sign. It was hand-carved with a single, elegant symbol, a cracked bowl from which a golden light seemed to emanate. There was no name, just the symbol. Drawn by a curiosity that felt like the first genuine emotion she had experienced in months, she slid open the delicate paper door. The inside was a world away from her own sterile workshop. It was a small, dim, and deeply peaceful space, filled with the scent of old wood, green tea, and something else, the faint, metallic tang of gold. The shelves were lined with broken things, chipped cups, cracked vases, shattered plates. But they were not discarded. They were in various stages of repair, their cracks being filled not with glue to hide the damage, but with a lacquer of pure, shimmering gold. In the center of the room, an old man with a face as serene and intricate as a piece of ancient pottery was meticulously applying a fine line of gold to the crack of a broken teacup. This was Master Tatsuya, one of the last remaining masters of Kintsugi, the ancient Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. Elena stood in the doorway, her heart aching with a feeling she could not name. She, who destroyed her creations because of a single, tiny flaw, was standing in a room where the flaws were being celebrated, illuminated, turned into the most beautiful feature of the object. Master Tatsuya did not look up, but he spoke, his voice as quiet and calm as the room itself. "The break is not the end of the story," he said. "It is the beginning of a new, more beautiful one. A story of resilience. A story of truth." He finally raised his eyes, and they were full of a deep, compassionate, and knowing light. "You are a creator who is at war with the story of your own creations." His words were so precise, so deeply true, that they brought tears to her eyes. She, the proud, self-reliant artist, found herself confessing everything to this quiet old man. The dream of the vessel, the curse of her perfectionism, the graveyard of her shattered work. He listened, his head tilted, a look of profound empathy on his face. "You believe perfection is a state of flawlessness," he said when she was done. "That is a very Western, very fragile idea. In the art of life, perfection is the state of being whole. And nothing can be truly whole until it has been broken." He then gestured to a low stool. "Leave your world of perfect, unbroken things for a while," he said. "Your task, if you will accept it, is to sit here with me. You will not create. You will not fix. Your only work is to learn to see the beauty in what is broken." She has stumbled upon a sanctuary of imperfection, a master whose entire philosophy is a direct antidote to her own personal poison. But can a woman who has worshipped at the altar of flawlessness for her entire life possibly learn to see the divine in the damaged? Part 3. Elena accepted the strange, humbling apprenticeship. This closed the previous loop. She had found her mentor and her sacred, paradoxical task. The new loop of conflict began the moment she tried to practice. Her first assignment was simply to watch. To sit in the quiet workshop for hours and observe Master Tatsuya as he worked, transforming shattered, worthless pieces of ceramic into unique, priceless works of art. Her internal conflict was a raging storm in the quiet room. Her antagonist, her own perfectionism, was screaming in protest. "This is a celebration of failure," it hissed. "This is sentimental nonsense. You are a glass artist, not a repairman. In your world, a crack is death. You are learning a philosophy of weakness. You should be in your studio, practicing your technique, striving for flawlessness." She felt a profound and visceral revulsion at the broken things. Each jagged edge, each crack, was a symbol of the very thing she had spent her life trying to avoid. The external conflict arrived in the form of an email from her former professor and mentor from the prestigious glassblowing school in Venice, a man named Signore Vianello. He was the high priest of the European tradition of perfect, flawless glass. "Elena," the email read, "I have been offered a master artist residency at the Murano Glass Works. I am too old to accept, but I have recommended you in my place. It is a 3-year position, a chance to work with the greatest masters of our craft. It is the opportunity of a lifetime, the path to true perfection. They need your answer by the end of the month." The offer was a powerful, seductive call back to the world she understood. Murano was the mecca of her craft, the very source of her philosophy of perfection. The residency was a golden cage, a beautiful, prestigious prison that would lock her into her old way of being forever. She brought her turmoil to Master Tatsuya. She told him about the residency, about the voice in her head that was calling her a fool for wasting her time with broken cups while the world of perfection was calling her name. He was grinding gold powder into a fine, shimmering dust. "The world will always test your new belief with a beautiful memory of your old one," he said. "The cage made of gold is the hardest to leave." He then gave her a new task, a more active one. He handed her a simple, ceramic bowl that was broken into 3 large pieces. "You are still seeing the break as an enemy," he said. "Now, you must become its friend. Your work is not to fix this bowl. It is simply to hold the pieces. Feel their edges. See how they fit together. See how the break has its own unique and beautiful story, its own unrepeatable line. You are not a judge of the break. You are its biographer." She is being offered the pinnacle of her old dream, a golden cage of perfection. At the same time, she is being asked to do something that feels like a betrayal of her entire artistic identity. To find the story, the beauty, in the very thing she sees as a catastrophic failure. Can she possibly reconcile these 2 warring worlds? Part 4. Elena's days became a quiet, intense, and deeply challenging practice. The deadline for the Murano residency was a constant, ticking clock, a siren song from her past. The loop of her passive observation was closed, and a new, more tactile and personal loop opened, the exploration of the broken bowl. She would sit in the workshop for hours, holding the 3 pieces of the bowl, her hands tracing the sharp, irregular lines of the break. At first, the feeling was one of pure revulsion. But as she followed Master Tatsuya's instructions, as she let go of her judgment and simply allowed herself to feel the brokenness, something began to shift. She started to notice the unique, unrepeatable beauty of the fracture. It was not a flaw, it was a landscape. It had valleys and peaks, rivers and tributaries. It was a map of a single, dramatic, and powerful moment in time. This internal journey was amplified by the sub-trauma of her friendship with a young Zen monk named Ren, who sometimes visited the workshop to drink tea with Master Tatsuya. Ren was a man of profound stillness, but his stillness was not the sterile, empty silence that Elena had cultivated. It was a warm, alive, and joyful stillness. He would talk about the Zen concept of mushin, or no mind, a state of effortless action where the creator and the creation become one. "You are trying so hard to have a perfect mind," he told her gently one afternoon. "But the goal is not to have a perfect mind. It is to get out of the mind's way, so the hands can do their true work." Her weekly video calls with her parents in America provided another layer of complexity. They were immensely proud of her talent, but deeply worried about her financial instability. When she told them about the Murano residency, they were ecstatic. "Oh, Elena, that's it," her mother said. "That's security. That's the success we always knew you were capable of. You must take it." Their loving, well-meaning pressure was a powerful force, a direct reflection of her own deep-seated fears about survival and worthiness. She was being pulled in 3 different directions: the path of perfection offered by Murano and her parents, the path of no mind offered by Ren, and the path of beautiful brokenness offered by Master Tatsuya. But she was beginning to suspect that Ren's and Tatsuya's paths were, in fact, the same road, a road that led directly away from the gilded cage of her past. She is beginning to see the beauty in the break, to understand a new, more profound philosophy of creation. But this is a passive, internal understanding. How can this new perception possibly translate into the dynamic, dangerous, and high-stakes physical act of blowing glass? Part 5. The deadline for the Murano residency was a few days away. Elena knew she had to make a decision. She was in a state of profound but calm uncertainty. She went to the workshop, her heart full of the beautiful, conflicting truths she was now holding. The loop of her gentle exploration was about to close, and the loop of her powerful, imperfect action would begin. She found Master Tatsuya not with a broken cup, but with a large, beautiful, and perfectly intact ceramic vase. As she watched, he took a small, silver hammer, and with a single, precise, and shockingly deliberate tap, he struck the vase. A fine, beautiful, lightning-like crack appeared on its surface. Elena gasped. "Why?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "It was perfect." "No," Master Tatsuya said, a deep and powerful light in his eyes. "It was only flawless. Now, it has a story. Now, it has a soul. Now, the real work can begin." He looked at her. "The universe is not a static crystal, Elena. It is a flowing river of creation. It does not want your perfect, finished and dead ideas. It wants your participation. It wants your energy. It wants your willingness to take a risk, to make a mess, to be in the dance of creation. The quantum field does not respond to a perfect noun. It responds to an imperfect verb. This was it. The final, explosive, paradigm-shattering teaching. He then shared a piece of wisdom from the physicist Frank Wilczek. The material of the world is a vibrant substance, a restless flux, a thing of prodigious activity. All the things we see are congealed energy. Your perfectionism, he continued, is your attempt to freeze the river, to present the universe with a beautiful ice sculpture. But the universe wants to flow. Your imperfect action, the moment you risk the flaw, is the moment you step into the river. It is the moment you become a co-creator with that restless flux. That is when the magic happens. That is when the manifestation occurs. In that moment, everything clicked. It was a quantum leap in her understanding. Her obsession with perfection was not just a psychological block, it was a metaphysical one. It was a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of reality. She had been trying to create from a place of stasis, when the universe only and ever responds to energy in motion. She stood up. She did not need to think about her decision. She knew. She bowed deeply to Master Tatsuya. "Thank you, Sensei," she said. She went home, and she wrote a polite, respectful, and joyful email, declining the Murano residency. Then she walked into her own workshop, took a deep breath, and picked up her blowpipe. She was not going to try to create a masterpiece. She was going to make a beautiful mess. She has the truth. She has rejected the golden cage. She has understood that the goal is not to present the universe with a perfect product, but to engage in the imperfect process. But what will her work look like now? What is the first creation of a woman who is no longer afraid to be broken? This profound insight into the power of imperfection has shattered a belief for you? Subscribe for more stories that reveal the true, dynamic nature of conscious creation. Part 6. Elena's return to her workshop was a rebirth. The previous loop closed. She had chosen her new philosophy. Now, the consequences of that choice began to flow. She did not start with her grand vision, the vessel of light. She started with a single, small, humble piece of glass. Her intention was not to create a flawless object, but to stay in the creative flow, to dance with the material, to remain open to the beautiful accidents. The first piece she made was a small, simple bowl. And, as if the universe were testing her new resolve, a small, asymmetrical wobble appeared in the rim as it was cooling. The old Elena would have smashed it instantly. The new Elena looked at it, and for the first time, she did not see a flaw. She saw a personality. She saw the story of the moment the glass decided to move in its own way. She smiled. She kept it. The consequences of this new process were immediate and profound. Her fear was gone. The crippling anxiety that had haunted her workshop was replaced by a spirit of playful, joyful experimentation. She began to create not just single, perfect objects, but entire families of objects. She would make a series of 10 small vases, each one slightly different, each one telling the story of its own unique creation. Her work was no longer perfect. It was alive. It was full of warmth, humanity, and a breathtaking, soulful beauty that had been absent from her previous, technically flawless creations. She filled her workshop with this new work. She had no plan for it. She was not creating for a gallery or a client. She was creating for the sheer, unadulterated joy of the process. She was generating a powerful, coherent, and joyful frequency, a frequency of creation in motion. One day, her friend Ren, the Zen monk, came to visit her workshop. He walked in and stopped, his usual serene expression giving way to one of pure, open-mouthed awe. "Elena," he said, his voice a whisper. "What has happened here? This is not a workshop anymore. This is a temple. The light. It is different." He was not just seeing the glass. He was feeling the energy, the coherence, the joy that had created it. She has created a body of work that is a perfect, beautiful reflection of her new, healed state of being. She has built her temple. But a temple is meant to be shared. Will anyone from the outside world be able to see and feel the magic that she has created within these four walls? Part 7. For 3 months, Elena lived in this state of joyful, prolific, and completely private creation. Her savings were gone. She was living on credit cards, a reality that would have once sent her into a spiral of panic. But now, it was just a circumstance, a piece of data. It had no power over her inner state. This was her final quiet test, to maintain her joyful creative flow in the face of profound financial uncertainty. She consolidated her growth by trusting her process completely. She did not hedge her bets. She did not look for part-time work. She poured all of her time, all of her energy, all of her trust, into her art. She was making a powerful, unspoken declaration to the universe. This is who I am now. This is what I do. And I trust that a reality will form around this truth. The dark night came in the form of a final eviction warning letter from her landlord. She had 1 month to pay her back rent, or she would lose her workshop, her home, her temple. The fear was real, a cold, hard knot in her stomach. The voice of her old perfectionism, her old fear, came back for one last, desperate assault. "You are a fool," it screamed. "You have played your game, and now you have lost. You have a room full of flawed, unsellable glass, and you are about to be homeless. You should have taken the job in Murano." She was tempted, for a moment, to break, to panic, to start desperately trying to sell her work online. But she did not. She took the letter, and she went to see Master Tatsuya. She showed it to him, her hands trembling slightly. He looked at the letter, and then he looked at her. "Ah," he said. "The storm has arrived. It has come to test the strength of your house." He did not offer her a loan or a solution. He simply asked a question. "What is your work today, Elena?" She understood. Her work was not to solve the problem of the rent. Her work was to show up, to be the creator, to stay in the joyful, imperfect process. She went back to her studio, and with the eviction letter sitting on her bench, she began to create the most beautiful, the most joyful, the most alive piece of glass she had ever made. She was not denying the storm. She was choosing to be the unshakable, creative center within it. She has faced the ultimate real-world test and has chosen not to abandon her practice, but to deepen it. She has met the storm with a creative act of radical faith. But the storm is real. The deadline is real. What will happen? Part 8. The answer arrived 2 days later. It came in the form of an unexpected visitor. A woman, impeccably dressed, with an air of quiet, powerful authority, slid open the door to her workshop. She introduced herself as Akari Tanaka, a name Elena recognized with a jolt. She was a legendary, almost mythical figure in the Japanese art world, a gallery owner and curator from Tokyo known for her visionary taste and her championing of new, revolutionary artists. The loop of her faithful creation was about to close. Akari did not speak. For a full hour, she walked through Elena's workshop, a silent, reverent observer. She picked up the small, wobbly-rimmed bowl. She touched the vase with the bubble trapped inside. She looked at the families of objects, each one unique, each one telling a story. She was not just looking at the art. She was reading the energy. She was experiencing the joy, the freedom, the profound, healing journey that had created these objects. Finally, she stood before Elena's most recent creation, the one she had made in the face of the eviction notice. "This one," Akari said, her voice quiet but resonant with power. "This one was made in the heart of the storm, was it not? It holds both the terror and the trust. It is the most alive of all." She then turned to Elena, her sharp, intelligent eyes seeing not just an artist, but a master. "I have been searching for 2 years," Akari said, "for the artist who will define the next decade of this craft. I have been looking for the one who has the courage to break free from the cold, dead perfection of the past and create something that is truly, beautifully, and imperfectly human. I have found you. The ultimate patron has arrived." She has not just seen the work, she has understood the soul behind it. This is the moment that will change everything. But what does a future look like for an artist whose entire philosophy is built on the beauty of the imperfect? Part 9. Akari Tanaka made Elena an offer that was beyond the scope of anything she had ever dared to visualize. "I do not want to buy a piece of your art," she said. "I want to buy your entire workshop. Everything in it. And I want to transport it, exactly as it is, to my gallery in Tokyo, as a living, breathing installation titled The Art of Imperfect Action." She continued, "And I want to offer you a 10-year exclusive contract. I will build you a new, larger studio here in Kyoto. You will have an unlimited budget for materials. And you will have one, single, contractual obligation. To continue to create with the same joy, freedom, and radical imperfection that I see in this room. You are not to take commissions. You are not to create for a market. Your only job is to stay in your flow. We will take care of the rest." She named a figure for the acquisition of the workshop and the first year's salary. It was a number so large, so abundant, that Elena almost laughed. It was a number that solved all her problems, past, present, and future, in a single, breathtaking moment. The promise of the introduction was fulfilled. The quantum field did not respond to her static, perfect vision. It had remained a distant, hollow dream. But the moment she had engaged in the messy, joyful, and imperfect process of creation, the moment she had put her own energy into the river of life, the universe had responded with a flood of abundance so powerful it had washed away all her old limitations. Perfectionism was the static image. Imperfect action was the irresistible, creative current. The dream is manifest, in a form more beautiful and aligned than she could have ever planned. But what is the true, lasting impact of a life that is built on the radical embrace of imperfection? Part 10. Elena's exhibition, The Art of Imperfect Action, was a global sensation. It was more than an art show, it was a pilgrimage. People came from all over the world to stand in the recreated workshop and feel the palpable energy of her journey. The story of her creative process, of her embrace of the flaw, started a new conversation in the worlds of art, design, and even business. She had not just created a new style, she had introduced a new philosophy of living. Her own life became a beautiful, ongoing expression of this philosophy. She was a celebrated, wealthy, and influential artist, but she lived a simple, quiet life in Kyoto, her days still structured around the joyful, imperfect dance with the glass. She mentored a new generation of artists, not in the techniques of perfection, but in the art of creative courage. She had learned the ultimate secret. The quantum field is not an audience waiting for you to present a finished masterpiece. It is a dance partner, waiting for you to get on the floor. It doesn't care if your steps are clumsy. It only cares that you are moving. Your imperfect action is your invitation to the universe to join you in the beautiful, messy, and infinitely creative dance of manifestation. Her journey has created a new definition of perfection. But what is the next dance for a soul who has learned to find the beauty in every misstep? We see Elena a year later, in her magnificent new Kyoto studio. She is not creating. She is with Master Tatsuya. They are sitting together, and she is learning the art of Kintsugi. Her hands, once so afraid of a crack, are now lovingly, patiently, tracing the break in a beautiful ceramic bowl and filling it with pure, shimmering gold. She is not just an artist of the whole, she has finally, and joyfully, become a healer of the broken. She learned that the path to a flawless reality is through the courageous embrace of her own beautiful, human flaws. What imperfect action is your own soul calling you to take today, to finally begin the dance with the universe? Perfectionism is the most elegant and respectable form of fear. It keeps you in the stands, planning the perfect game, while your life is waiting to be played on the field. The quantum field responds to players, not planners. Your challenge is this: choose one small, creative, or professional goal you have been procrastinating on because you are waiting for the perfect conditions. This week, your only task is to take one, small, messy, and gloriously imperfect action towards it. Write a terrible first draft. Make a clumsy first attempt. Have an awkward conversation. Take one imperfect step. This is not about the result. It is about putting your energy into motion. What is the one imperfect action you will commit to this week? Declare it in the comments below. 4 more stories that will help you break free from the prison of perfectionism and step into your true
creative power. Make sure you subscribe and join this community of imperfect creators.